Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we are out in the open for a slightly different video than usual, because today I would like to compare the two drones that I own and also give you a few tips on what I think you should consider when buying your first drone, especially if you're on a budget, because I was very much on a budget. I bought my drones off of eBay secondhand, and I'm going to show you my drones. I'm going to tell you what consideration went into when I was buying them, and if you're interested, please stay tuned. So first off, I live in Scotland, and Scotland is a pretty windy country. So I specifically was looking for drones that were going to be able to withstand the wind, because even though you wouldn't really fly a drone in a stormy weather, Scottish wind is quite average a lot of the time, and if you have a drone that does not withstand the wind, it's going to be pushed about quite frequently. So that means you're not going to be able to fly many days at all in Scotland, because it is quite often pretty windy. So I was looking at different brands and I settled on DJI. And there was a drone in particular that was recommended for flying at high wind speeds, and that was the DJI Phantom. So that's the first drone that I bought. The DJI Phantom Standard is the one that I picked because it was within my budget. I think I spent about £200 on eBay for it. And this is the carry case, and here we already have the first problem. And the problem primarily is that this drone is heavy and big to carry. So if you look here, it has a strap that goes around your waist, but it doesn't really have any strap for the hips. That is not to say that you couldn't buy a different kind of case for it, where you would deposit it in a backpack with hip straps. So as I was trying to stick with my budget, I was just using the case that it came with. So the main problem with this is that it's very tiring to carry, and it fits only the drone. So if you want to bring anything else along, you're going to be carrying a lot of stuff. Now let me show you what's in the backpack as well. So here it is. It zips up on the side and then it opens up like this, and you've got a space for everything. You've got the massive controller, you've got the drone, the batteries, the Wi-Fi extenders, so everything fits really nicely. But as I said, there's hardly any space for anything else to carry. So yeah, so you've got this heavy drone, and I was buying this drone to withstand the wind, but I totally did not consider how heavy it was. Now when I was buying my second drone, this sense of practicality is what I was going for. And I was also still going for something that was going to withstand the wind as well. What I did get was this. So just look at the difference. You've got, this is very heavy. This is, I think, about a fourth of what this is weighing, if not a fifth. And this is a tiny bag. So this is the backpack that I usually bring with my hip strap. And this drone fits perfectly inside. And then I still have space on the top to put in my digital camera, my DSLR, and everything fits pretty neatly. So this, I think, was a perfect purchase. And the problem with the other drone was that once I bought it, I wanted to go out and practice, but the weight really prevented me from doing it. There was a couple of times I brought it along because I knew exactly what I was going to do with it. So when we went to see a Roman fort, I brought it along because I wanted to do aerial footage. And it was still a very difficult trek because it was so heavy. But with this drone, I can just pop it in the bag and bring it along. And it's a lot easier just to bring it spontaneously and just to bring it out on a walk to see if there's any opportunity, whereas this drone I would have to really plan out what I'm going to be doing with it. This drone comes in a tiny carrying case. This is the Mavic Air, Mavic Air 1, and this time I had a budget of £300, and this is exactly what I paid for it on eBay. It came with 3 batteries, and it even came with a wind measure device, which I thought was really cool and really useful. So let me show you the two drones side by side. One thing as well, this drone needs to be set up. You need to apply the rotors. And you're gonna have to do that every single time. So it also takes a certain amount of time. Whereas this little drone, once you take it out of the package, you can just quickly unfold it. So that's way quicker if you want to assemble and disassemble it, which again adds to the practicality. And now let me show you the size. Look at that. So I've got this one big massive drone and this one tiny drone. And believe me, it makes a difference. Now, if you are a big strong guy, maybe it doesn't faze you to carry around a big drone like that. But I am a short woman and it does make a difference to me. So it is much easier to carry this little drone around with me than this big drone. And it has made a large difference because I find myself using this drone way more often than this drone. So here's a little bit about the setup. I bought a huge tablet and it goes on here. And so pretty much everything about this drone is huge. So one thing I will say about this drone, it's the sturdiest thing you'll ever meet. I have crashed this drone a couple of times. I have crashed this drone into the ground because I did some kind of wrong movement with the control. And I have crashed this drone into a tree, believe it or not. And thankfully my partner was able to retrieve it with a stick. You can even see some of the leftovers. And this drone was perfectly fine. Just after crashing, it was able to go immediately. I don't know if a smaller drone would be able to withstand such a heavy crash as this drone has withstood. Little caveat about this, because this is the DJI Phantom 3 Standard. And the Phantom 3 Standard does not have any of the fancy electronic functions that the professional models had. The problem with this is this does not have obstacle avoidance, and this does not use very many satellites, so the positioning can be a bit topsy-turvy. And so what happened with the tree is it was windy and this drone started to drift, and I didn't quite have a grip of the controls just yet, and I started to panic, and I was kind of probably steered it the wrong way, and it ended up being in the tree. However, with the smaller drone, the Mavic Air, it does have obstacle avoidance and it holds its position really, really well. Although to be fair, the Phantom 3 Standard is a lot older and this is a more recent model. There's also the Mavic Air Mini. Now with the Mavic Air Mini, it's lighter and it's smaller, but I did not go for it because the ability to use it in the wind apparently wasn't quite as good as the Mavic Air. Mavic Pro, on the other hand, was just that little bit outside of my budget. So now that I have said all the things about it, let's get it to fly as well.
So here's some footage from the Phantom 3 Standard, and I haven't flown it in a while, but looking at it, I quite like the way the colours look and the way they look quite natural. And this clip in particular is at original speed, so I'm pretty sure that the Phantom 3 is faster than the Mavic Air.
So I just landed the drone again, and it took me a while to land it because there's all the grass around us, and I was trying to land it on this mat, and because it's so big, it's a bit harder to land than any smaller drone. Let's get the other one flying then. Okay, so I had to switch cameras because I have to use my phone that I usually use for filming to fly. And this is the snazzy small controller for the Mavic Air. And my phone is ever slightly too large, so it looks a bit awkward. But this is pretty quick and pretty fun to assemble.
The home point has been located. Take off.
And here is the Mavic Air footage. The colours and levels of detail are considerably different, and I have included a little side-by-side comparison. In the side-by-side comparison, you can see just how much more natural the Phantom Free looks in comparison to the Mavic Air. The Mavic Air is a bit more punchy and saturated and a lot more contrasted. But the Mavic Air also provides more detail overall. But there's definitely a noticeable difference between the colours of the drone and real life.
The reason I was able to get this drone so cheaply is because one of the feet doesn't click into place. But it doesn't really influence the flying too much. So if you can find something like that, something that is really good but slightly blemished, then you can usually get a pretty good deal on these kind of things. So one thing I want to say about this Mavic Air is that this one is able to film in 4K. I typically don't to not take up too much space, but the Phantom Free I think is only able to film in QHD. And if you really need 4K, then definitely some of the older drones are really not for you. It's really quite marvellous how small these things are these days. Ta-da! So then, what should you consider when buying a drone? And if it's your first drone? If you are on a budget, I would really recommend looking on eBay and buying second-hand drones, because you're not spending very much money on something that you could potentially break easily. Although, to be fair, these drones, especially the DJI ones, and to be fair, I don't have any experience with any other drones other than the ones that I own, but the ones that I do have are really sturdy. So if you buy a drone second-hand, you can use it to practice your craft, and you're not going to have sunk a lot of money into the drain. And what you should consider is the specific requirements of your country. So is it a windy country? Do you have a lot of space to fly? So a smaller drone is going to be easier to land, it's going to be easier to carry, all the practicalities. Are you going to be able to carry a big drone on a long walk? Even though I consider the first drone that I bought to have been the wrong drone for me, I would still say that I don't necessarily regret buying it, just because I was able to make my first experiences flying, and I was able to just have it crash, and the crashes really looked pretty brutal, but the drone was completely fine afterwards. And I just find it amazing how sturdy these things really are. Is it worth buying a drone at all? Well, that completely depends on you and whether you're a photographer or a filmmaker, and whether you want to expand your field into this kind of new perspective, like seeing things from the air. I think for me it was very much worth it, just because Scotland is a beautiful country and I mainly do landscape photography. So having a drone to do landscape shots is very much a plus for a landscape photographer, and even as I do videos about travel here on YouTube. So I very much hope that you enjoyed the video today. If you have any more questions, let me know. If you do own drones, feel free to share your own experience with it. What was the first drone that you bought? Maybe you still have your first drone. What sorts of buying mistakes did you make? And maybe what country are you from? And what are the conditions like? Is it quite windy? Do you use your drone a lot? And so on and so forth. Just feel free to tell me all about your drones. And thank you for watching.
Oh, Jesus.
So it's not actually that easy to find places to fly, and this grass is really tall, so it's really not good for flying. And we have a public path here behind me where people are coming by, so I was using this mat as a landing pad, and it was a bit of an embarrassing landing, but believe it or not, the drone is completely fine. I am amazed as always.